Do I have to go to college? Is that something that's required? The answer is it depends. Today, we are going to talk a lot more about the specifics of what kind of background and education might be necessary for your particular career interest. We're going to talk about whether you are able to do the work that you are most interested in with a certification, if you need a degree, and even more. So let's dive in. So, one of the things that I want to be very clear about is if you don't know what careers you might be interested in right now, that's okay. You don't have to have a specific career field to say, yes, this is 100% what I want to do. There are many people that end up changing their minds. So, today we're going to give you just some basic information and research tools so that you can figure out what your next steps are. So, the first thing I want to talk about is how your potential career, your major, and potential training are going to impact the college that you are looking at, or if you're looking into some type of certification. So, I want to tell you a little story about a student that I worked with. This student came into my office. We have yearly meetings where we talk about what is it that you want to do, what are you most interested in, and they were 100% sure they did not want to go to a four-year college. Their parent was a little bit concerned. And so we talked through what is it about that four-year college that is a concern for you? Is school something that it's been a struggle where you just don't enjoy it and you say, you know what? I really don't think that going to school for that long is for me. That's okay. That is a very, there are very legitimate options for you as you navigate what those next steps might look like. So the student was really interested in cars and loved everything having to do with cars. They were interested in taking auto tech classes. They were interested in many, many things, and that were all related to the field of cars, electronics, automotive, engineering, and how does the car work, all of those different things. But they did not want to have to go to school for a prolonged period of time to be able to work on those cars. So we ended up exploring some options that were going to have the student be happy because they were pursuing they were pursuing that training in something that they were happy with and something that they enjoyed. It also was something where they looked into income and several other things that we're going to talk about within this video or podcast if you're listening to it. And so there were multiple conversations that we had to be able to help that student. And lo and behold, there were some classes that they started taking early on in high school where they were taking some actual college level classes to be able to work towards that certification. So that is an example and one of many, many examples where you are actually able to look into different certifications, alternatives to a four-year school and beyond, to be able to find the career path that you are most interested in. So with this student, we researched internships, we looked into on-the-job training, job shadow experiences that the student could be a part of to help make sure that they had exactly what they were most interested in, and learned about the different certifications, apprenticeships, even paid work that the student was able to do ahead of time. So one of the things that you want to make sure that you do is that you are exploring different careers, that you are looking into what kind of training is required for those careers. If you are looking into a field that is going to require a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, an associate's degree, something that's beyond that certification, then you need to make sure that with that career that you are prepared and ready to look into the training and education that's going to be required. If you haven't already, I would love to give you a free resource to help you with navigating the next steps on your college journey. If you go to confusedtoready.com/how to start, we have a free guide that will help you figure out how to start your college search, or what the next steps are in expanding that college search to help make things go more smoothly for you. And that guide will walk you through the first several steps. And we have lots of podcasts and other things, but if you go to confusedalready.com/how to start, we would love to be able to share that with you. All right, so point number 2, there are multiple education pathways that are available to you. So we've already talked about apprenticeships, on-the-job training, we've talked about certifications. One other area is students could go to a technical or community college, and you can look into doing your training through that. And again, this is dependent on what type of training and education is required for your career. But some students, let's say that you were interested in something with the medical field, and so you wanted to be able to work as a nurse aide, or you wanted to get your an LPN degree and then go into nursing and potentially even have your employer pay for more of your education. That is absolutely an option where you'd have to talk with your employer and see what they're providing. However, you can look at some of that technical training and doing a short-term program at a 2-year school. And so maybe all you want is your LPN, or all you want is to be able to complete some of the introductory level with the nurse aid courses or something. And this is just one example of many, many, many options that you would have. So you go to that 2-year program, you complete your certification, you get the associate's degree or whatever else is required, and then you're able to go into the workforce and meet your needs. So the third option, so we've got the certification and training, you have going directly to a 2-year college and getting your certification or licensure through that 2-year college with the associate's degree. Some students will choose to go directly to a 4-year college, and that's also a fantastic opportunity for you. You have a lot of different things that you can do and pursue with that particular 4-year school. So you might want to go get a bachelor's degree, and maybe that is in your field of interest. A bachelor's degree is all that's required. Some schools will provide the opportunity for that bachelor's degree. Some schools might say, and some careers might want you to continue on with your education where you're getting a master's degree or even potentially a doctorate. So there are multiple options that are out there for you. So we talked about certification, we talked about going to a 2-year college, we talked about going directly to a 4-year college. There's one other potential pathway for you that I want to make sure that we talk about today, and that's when you transfer. So a student might start out at a 2-year college and complete their first year to 2 years of education in some of those general credits and courses at that 2-year school. Then you can potentially look at transferring to a 4-year college and continuing your education and getting your bachelor's degree. So there are multiple pathways that you can take, multiple ways to be able to look into that particular area of study and way of studying to see what's going to be the best fit for you. One other way that some students will pursue their education and continue their education is that they actually will take a gap year. And so this might be where you take a year off. You're accepted to your schools, you decide maybe something has come up with your family and you need to take a year off. Maybe you have decided that you want to be able to work to save up a little bit more money, but you end up that you take a gap year. You take that year off, and then you end up that you begin your education a year after you have graduated from high school. Also a fantastic opportunity, and it really just depends on what the right pathway is for you as an individual. So our first point that we talked about, so let's just do a quick review, is that you want to consider careers, majors, and how much education is going to be required for your particular career that you are most interested in. The second point that I want to talk about is that there are multiple pathways to education. And so again, this is a very personal decision that you want to be able to figure out what's going to be the right fit for me. And so figuring out what pathway is the right one it can feel overwhelming, but that's something that is incredibly important. The third point that I want to talk about is looking at your preferences. What is it that you are most interested in? Is there a particular area that you think sounds amazing and you want to be able to learn more about working in that area? Start doing some of your career research. Look into, what does that job look like? What are some of the different things that might be a good fit for you? Are there any, is there a certain area in the United States or in the world that you are interested in living? If you do not like cold weather, then being in Alaska, Canada, some of the northern parts of the United States, that might not be the best fit for you, because there is a lot of cold, there's a lot of snow, there's a lot of gray weather. And I say that having lived in Michigan for 15 years, that it can be a lot living in that cold area for your entire college career. So you want to consider that. You also want to consider what's going to happen as far as where you would be required to live with a career. If you are considering working in marine biology, that's not something where you're going to be able to live out in Nevada, and you're going to need to have access to, and maybe you could work at an aquarium or something like that, but you're going to need to be able to have access to ocean life and to be able to look into those specific things. So location is a big one. You also want to think about the type of lifestyle that you want to live. Are you someone that you cannot handle and do not have any interest in sitting at a desk all day long? Don't pick a career where that might be the expectation, is that you are sitting at that desk for the duration of the day. If you need to be able to get up and move around, you need to consider and factor that into your search process. Another thing to consider with these preferences is, what kind of money and what type of lifestyle do you want to be able to lead? Are you hoping to be able to make a lot of money and to be able to go out and do all of the things that you're most interested in? The salary that you make from your career can have an impact on that. And so you also need to know that just starting out in a particular career field, you're not necessarily going to be making what you see if you do a search on average salary for a specific position. That's something where it's looking at people that are brand new to the field. It's looking at people that have multiple years experience. And so you've got to be aware, how is salary going to impact me when I'm first starting out versus when I'm 5, 10, 15, 20 years into this career field? So those are really big things. And it's not always about the money. You want to be able to make sure that you obviously you need to be able to have a living wage. You need to be able to make sure that you are taking care of yourself and your family. But there are different things that you can make sure of when you consider, what type of lifestyle do I want to lead? How long do you want to go to school for a career in that field? If you say you want to be a doctor, but you are not interested in attending anything beyond getting a bachelor's degree, there's a big difference in those two areas of interest. And some other careers definitely have longer than that 4 years that you would need to be attending a school. If you say that you are wanting to get a certification and you don't want to be in school for very long, and maybe that certification takes a year, 18 months, 2 years, then that can be a great fit for you. And so that's where balancing that lifestyle and some of your preferences really is going to make a difference. So the other thing is, there are several different tools that you can use in order to be able to search for potential careers, to search for education programs. So some schools might actually have access to programs like Naviance. Your school district might pay for that. There's another program, SCOIR, SCOIR, and maybe your school is paying for that. And so you can log in, you can do some of that career research. We will be talking in future episodes about other things that you can do in order to get caught up and to be able to know where that research is going to start for you and your particular interests. So if you aren't sure what careers or jobs might be a good fit, we have a lot of great podcast episodes where we have shared that specific information, where we talk about careers, we talk about searching for careers. That also is something that we're going to talk more in depth about in the coming weeks on future episodes as well. So As you start exploring life after high school, the first thing I will say is don't forget that we have that free guide to how to start or expand your college search. If you go to confusedtoready.com/how to start, that is a fantastic way to get started and to be able to have some guidance on what your next step should be. But you can take multiple paths. So I just want to review what we have talked about up to this point. So point one, your careers, your majors, and your required training are all things to consider. Point number two is going to be looking at multiple education pathways that you don't have to follow one specific pathway. You want to follow that pathway that's right for you. And then point three is when you are considering careers in education, you want to make sure that you are thinking about your specific preferences. So there are three things for you to consider. And I hope that this episode has been helpful for you. I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.